We went from surplus to the Taliban to Ted Kaczynski. It's a very quick pipeline.
You could call it a pipe dream, an Americana pipe dream.
Oh God, I can only imagine how many fantastic lines we're gonna get out of that in this podcast.
You're listening to the Art and War podcast with your hosts, Mitch and Nathan. Mitch is a former airborne infantry squad leader who now spends most of his time coaching soccer. Nathan is a professional illustrator and an avid shooter with a couple of years of Canadian military experience. Together, they run the Seaburn art page. Enjoy the show.
Hell
So
yeah!
I really want to know those fucking like Taliban sneakers you guys had in your site. Like Taliban always wear fucking white sneakers.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get your hands on them?
So basically, because of our viral marketing, random people will hit us up out of nowhere and just offer us shit. This was one of those cases where some dude from Pakistan DM'd us and was like, "Hey, I have Taliban sneakers and war rugs. Do you want some?" And that kind of actually established a really good relationship that we've had forever, and that's how we get like rugs, pecoles, basically anything that's out of Afghanistan or Pakistan, we get from him. And that was just a random DM that we got one time.
That's really fucking interesting, actually.
Yeah, and
Like,
I mean,
if only he could like go to Khyber Pass for you and get like those knockoff Lee Enfields.
he's sent me pictures from Khyber Pass before. He sent me a picture of a dude with a wheelbarrow full of like shop-made AKs, and he had the biggest grin on his face. I was like, dude, I so wish that guy was me.
One of these days, do you think like Americana Pipe? By the way, everyone, hi, this is Logan and Aiden from Americana Pipe Dream. Welcome to the C. Bernard podcast.
Nah, fuck people all. But business trip to Pakistan, abso-fucking-lutely. Hopefully in the next 2 to 3 years. I mean, traveling there might be a little bit of an interesting story, but given how much business we do with this dude, it would probably be worth it at this point, honestly.
Yeah, dude, the spoils of like the war in Afghanistan, the last 20 years being like pissed away on basically nothing. There's some really cool finds out of it.
Absolutely.
I remember like, and I've brought this up in the podcast before. Basically, the day after, no, like even the night that Kabul fell, I went on eBay. I'm like, fuck, there's going to be so much shit coming out of this, and I wasn't wrong. Like right after, right out of all the bordering towns, immediately there's like BE miners, laser designator, like full power PEC 15s. All this shit just started popping up, way overpriced, like $3,500 for a PEC 15.
Jesus.
Still, it was fucking hilarious, just the loot. And it's always kind of like been fascinating to me how the surplus market works. I think my understanding of it is basically what I've gleaned from the Nicolas Cage documentary Lord of War.
Yeah, that's literally me. One day, maybe. Probably not, though. FFLs are kind of a burden if you're in the clothing industry. Can't lie.
Yeah. For now. Anyway.
For now. But
yeah,
I mean, you got to hand it to the Taliban. They're on the grind set. That's all I have to say. I mean, they can make a lot of money off that shit, especially whatever they don't actually want to keep.
Yeah, 100%. Have you seen their social media presence? It's fucking wild. I don't know how true it is. Like, if that's actually them.
Are you talking about the Twitter account, the Taliban Public Relations Department?
Yeah, because I didn't. I thought that was satire, and then like other actual Taliban government accounts will refer to it. I don't know. I don't know anymore.
No fucking way. Because I've heard that it's satire, and I'm inclined to believe that it is satire just because, like, why would the Taliban have a public relations account on Twitter? But
yeah,
with that in mind, if I really hope that it's real, because I want to be able to tweet at the Taliban and say some ridiculous shit and get a reply. But
they have been referenced to and by various actual Taliban government accounts, and part of me thinks that it's like a Gen Z intern, like a Taliban Gen Z intern that, and no one else in the office speaks English, so you can kind of get away with whatever.
Yeah, just anything at all. Dude, I really, really, really fucking hope so, because that would be social media gold. I can't lie. Did you see that article about how the Taliban, once they took over the government and shit, are getting really bored of office work?
Yeah, I
There's an,
saw that.
there's an
Just like,
entire article about it.
yeah. Like the really masculine urge to go fight an invading government as opposed to sitting around, 9 to 5. I laughed so hard. They're realizing like maybe we should have just continued just a war of attrition.
Maybe that would have been more fun. Maybe it
Yeah,
would have been more entertaining. Is once you get past the yay we won factor and you got to sit behind a desk like approving like license plates or some shit, that's when it gets real old real quick.
yeah. Like what was it all for? I guess like having to register your car.
Oh god.
It's fucking hilarious to me though that like the Industrial Revolution and all of that I always fucking harp on. It caught up to the Taliban of all people. And now, everyone's having existential crises. Ted Kaczynski, and I
Not the fucking abomination.
okay, I think this is a record. 5 minutes. 5 minutes it took to
So uplifting.
Ted Kaczynski once said, and this is kind of paraphrased, but it's kind of, we're seeing it in real time with the Taliban. Antidepressants are sort of your BR. Just cut this entire part out. Just cut it out.
Nah, this is good.
I can't go. I can't go down this track so fast.
What, we have to wait another 5?
Yeah, 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes.
I mean, I have read the book.
Really?
Yeah, I mean it's like 90 pages. It's not that long. You can read it in like half an hour.
This is true. They did actually publish it in a newspaper.
This
But
is
yeah,
very-
no. Okay, fuck it. Yeah, the Taliban have found in real time that they're living in a society that subjects people to conditions that make them terribly unhappy. And then, as he said, at least in the Western world, society then gives you drugs to take away their unhappiness. Instead of removing the conditions that make people depressed, modern society gives them antidepressant drugs. This has nothing to do with what we were talking about a second ago. BR, continue to cut this part
Nah, we got to keep that in. That's important content right there.
That's important content. That has nothing to do with anything. It's more schizo than our usual like tangents, and it took all of 5 minutes to get there.
We went from surplus to the Taliban to Ted Kaczynski. It's a very quick pipeline.
You could call it a pipe dream, an Americana pipe dream.
Oh god, I can only imagine how many fantastic lines we're gonna get out of that in this podcast.
But yes, we actually we all met up in person for anyone listening at SHOT Show. I think we were all really hammered when that happened.
Oh, absolutely, and I'm pretty sure it was like 3:30 in the morning.
It was really late. It was at the Circle Bar, I think, or
it was the Circle Bar. It was
Yeah.
between like 1 and 3. We talked for a bit.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Everything.
don't remember anything about that night other than that's the night I got gout. So
Oh god. I mean, you don't usually drink, right?
no,
So it
not
was-
really. Like I used to have a couple drinks to loosen up right when we started recording the podcast, like 2 years ago now. But I just stopped one day. I'll still do it, like for a wedding or SHOT Show, I guess.
Mhm.
SHOT Show was interesting. People just kept on shoving drinks into my hand, and rude not to drink them, and also not fun to not drink them. So
That is true. I mean, I think most of the business that happens at SHOT Show actually happens at the Circle Bar.
oh,
I would-
100%.
I would not be surprised. Everything happens after the show closes and everyone goes to get drinks.
Yeah, the people you meet there are fucking wild.
Oh,
But
dude.
did you
fucking-
guys go as vendors or just for fun, like on your own?
So we have a wholesaler that we've been working with for a really long time, and they actually invited us out to SHOT Show. We weren't really
Oh, fuck.
considering going because we're not exactly in the firearms industry. We
I
don't
mean,
even
like you're in the peripheral.
peripheral, yeah, but like if it wasn't something that one of our wholesalers invited us to, we might not have even ended up going. But they extended the invite, vouched for us with the people who give you the passes or whatever, and I guess we qualified, so we got the tickets and we just showed up. So
That's awesome.
yeah, it was a really good time. I saw that message. Gotta say, microdosing shrooms is the way to go.
It is. It absolutely is, dude. It's actually life changing. It's wonderful. I
It does up the
simultaneously work a
creativity.
lot better and worse than I would without it. And I,
The positives and the negatives.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's what I found too. I mean, it's been like over a year since I have actually microdosed shrooms, but when I was doing it, it was like it was a very quick pipeline to making very good memes and a lot of them in a very short amount of time. The marketing
oh,
game
dude,
was,
you get so focused.
yes, and very creative too. Like you have no boundaries at all.
Yeah, I love recording on it because there's just streams of consciousness that one turns into the other, turns into the other, but sometimes it can be a little too much.
Yeah, sometimes. That's why you got to make sure you dose it just right. Otherwise, you're gonna be out of commission for a couple hours.
Yeah, 100%. So who do you find are your primary markets? I don't know if you can tell much about your clientele, but you've seemed to have gotten really big really quickly. I see a lot of dudes like admin results and whatnot wearing a lot of your stuff, and it almost seems like you guys. I don't know if you like if it's a chicken or egg situation where trends seem to happen out of the things that you advertise, but do you have a hand in that? And what's happening?
So, first of all, we're a CIA plant. Um, we're not a real company. We're funded and ran by the CIA. But I think that
Faith.
there's a lot of truth to the to the trends, because what we did with our marketing is because at first we had literally zero advertising budget. Like our first year,
Yeah.
we spent $0 on advertising, and what we would do is we would literally just make TikTok videos and Instagram reels, and that was the entire thing that drove our company to get so big so quickly, because those have huge viral potential, and if you market it the right way, I mean, you can get like a million people to see a video being a brand that just came into existence like a couple months ago.
Yeah.
So that's really what ended up happening. To put it really short, with AP. And honestly, we've only been in business since 2021, and
Really?
we've just seen exponential growth. Because I started the company when I was 18, and then Aiden joined in like 3 months in. He helped with marketing, and then I have a friend Mac who's actually in the other room right now editing a marketing video currently, who had a really yeah, thank you, Mac.
I just
But
hear him yelling.
but yeah, he had a passion for cameras and videography and cinematography and all that stuff. So he was the guy we'd go to for advice on recording a good shot, or just in general making good marketing content, because neither me or Aiden really knew a whole lot about how to do that stuff. So we kind of just drew on the resources that we had around us just from friends that we knew from high school and middle school.
That is really impressive. And where did you see everything start to take off?
So, funnily enough, our first viral video was fucking me wearing a balaclava in jorts, reading a passage from the guerrilla warfare manual, like the U.S. Army field manual. And I remember it, it was around.
That's like schizophrenic.
Yeah, basically, I was wearing a Type 56 ICOM rig with a leather jacket too, so it was a look for sure. But I remember that got like
Wolverines.
150,000 views overnight on TikTok, and I remember checking the sales chart the next day, and it was like 3 grand that we sold in just field manuals overnight. So I was like, holy shit, we should do this more. So we kind of played into that for a while until it got old and stopped working, and then started doing camouflage history videos of like obscure camouflage patterns or just whatever we had in stock. And that kind of morphed into like this short form 15 to 20-second thing where we list off the features, where it's from, how old it is, the price, and all that stuff. And that's been a really successful formula, especially recently.
Yeah, that's actually what got me into your stuff was the I'd seen some of the memes and
Mhm.
they're fucking hilarious. But the short form stuff, the one that really stuck in my head is the same one I asked you about, the Taliban wearing white sneakers, because it's something I'd always actually thought about. In all the pictures of the Taliban fighters seem to be wearing the same fucking sneakers, and it's something that I'd always noticed but never actually looked into. Like I'm sure a lot of people would, but it's such interesting, obscure kind of war trivia
Mhm.
that when your video finally came on explaining kind of the heritage and where they came from, I thought it was fascinating.
Yeah, and I mean it's kind of tricky to find that kind of interesting item that kind of catches people's attention like that, but
Yeah,
we're doing this full time, so we have the time to look for stuff like that. And that's why,
yeah.
you know, that's why we've pissed off a couple ministries of defense, and why we
What?
always try to bring in rare stuff, because that in itself also grabs attention. Like we do get a lot of emails from just random people around the world, like Indonesia, fucking Ireland, not so much anymore after the incident. But several different people will hit us up with random rare stuff that they have, and we'll buy small lots of it or whatever. And yeah, I can talk a little bit about the incident. I
Okay,
made a
I was about to say you can't just say okay. But
so
my brain is catching up with my mouth. What incident?
basically, the end result of this is that we got an interview on Irish national radio, because we bought and sold maybe like 50 pieces of Irish DPM, which is a really sick camo pattern.
Yeah.
um and honestly, I love it. I have a couple pieces that I wear from time to time. But long story short, it's illegal in Ireland to both buy and sell and to possess if you're a civilian, because this one incident happened in Northern Ireland or around that area where Irish DPM clothing was stolen by IRA members, and they used it to impersonate the Irish military. So because of that one incident, they passed this like National Defense Act in like 97 or something that prohibits the selling and possession of Irish camouflage by civilians. And because we're not in Ireland, we didn't break the law, but they were really concerned, is how they put it. They were concerned that somehow we would sell it to the IRA, even though we prohibited it from shipping to Ireland, because we knew that this was a law. So like we never shipped a piece to Ireland, but they made it like a national news story that we were selling it,
Holy shit. That
which
is
was
what,
really, it was really funny.
yeah. Don't burn any of your sources, but how did you guys get your hands on it?
So we work with a couple people in Europe, and one of these wholesalers who we've had a really long and successful relationship with, and we also got the other thing from them that pissed off a Ministry of Defense. Um,
That's my
but
next question. We'll get to
yeah,
that.
they get these like huge thousands of kilo bins full of miscellaneous stuff, and basically I'd tell them, if you ever see any Irish DPM in those bins, sell it to me. Like I'll pay you extra for it, whatever. We're just going to take it all. So we've worked out that arrangement with them where if they find any Irish DPM, they're going to tell us and just sell it to us in whatever next order we make with them. Because I honestly, I just really wanted some for myself, and also
Yeah.
I wanted to bring it to the US.
There's something really cool about gear that you can't get otherwise. Just stuff that you can't find that is literally illegal to be sold. And it seems like, I mean, you broke the taboo so badly that it was on Irish national radio. I think that's
Yeah.
pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, and I mean we still get comments from Irish followers and stuff. I mean, like we don't sell a whole lot to Ireland.
Yeah.
But we still get comments from Irish followers being like, "Bro, I died laughing when I heard your name on News Talk or whatever." And I'm just like, "Yeah."
That's so fucking funny.
It was hilarious. And I mean, honestly, if the Irish MOD is listening, please surplus your shit. It's so good. You can make so much money to buy like ammo or new uniforms or whatever. I mean, I'd buy literally all of it.
Yeah. I've heard that they're, well, I don't know if you've heard any of the episodes with Lucas. The Irish military is not doing super hot right now.
No, scandal after scandal. Because after that news story with us, I started following Irish Army news, and bro, it's bad. It's
It's
bad.
really fucking bad. I think they might need to start selling surplus soon. It doesn't seem like they've got a budget for much anything.
No, no, like not at all. But you know what? If it works out in favor of having Irish DPM on the surplus market, I can't argue.
Based. But now I have to ask, what other foreign ministries have you pissed off?
Okay, there's
We're
only
only
there's
20
only
minutes in, and
one more.
we already have like not one but two major international incidents.
I mean, there's only one more. We haven't done this very often, and it's a very rare thing around AP's office. But It has
Well,
happened twice.
on average, it's been once per year since the company's been founded.
Basically, yeah. And I fingers crossed it's a trend that continues. But the other one was Oman. And this
Really?
one was yeah, this one was big enough where the actual contractor who makes the uniforms had a Zoom call with us. We talked to the CEO of that company because apparently the Ministry of Defense, someone at the Omani embassy in the US saw one of our TikToks advertising Omani DPM and went up the chain of command and was like, hey, that shouldn't be a thing that's happening. And it got to the Ministry of Defense, and the Ministry of Defense was like, hey, are you selling our uniforms on the side to make a little bit of extra money? And we're almost about to cancel the contract with them and like
Yeah.
burn the bridge until we sorted it out. We're like, hey, no, we didn't buy it from your contractor. It was like some weird leftover thing with a military contract that was outsourced to a company in France, where these French folks just had a couple hundred pieces of these
Yeah.
shirts laying around.
That kind of shit happens all the time.
Oh yeah, 100%. And they just weren't aware of it because it wasn't into the surplus market until like 15 years after the contract was over.
2 for 2 DPM as well.
Oh
But
yeah, 100%.
that's
It's
wild. I know we have kind of similar laws. I don't know if they're enforced around CADPAT and Canadian
mhm.
issue gear. I don't know if they'd really know or care if any of it made it into the surplus market, because it finds its way into, Facebook Marketplace and things like that quite a bit. But I have Americans ask me not infrequently to source them CADPAT somehow.
Mhm. I mean, it's an extremely nice camo pattern. I can't lie. It would probably work really good here in Wisconsin as well.
It
I,
does, actually. I will give it that. It works really, really well in the northern United States.
mm, but I honestly think it's really not as common as even Irish DPM just because of that law. And I mean, I don't think it's really enforced as much because Misty Mountain Supply, another surplus store who's based in Canada, I bought some from him like last week.
Oh, yeah. No, I fucking love Sam. He's been on the show, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No, he's coming back
Hey,
on again soon. I love him. He's great.
that's fucking awesome. I love him too. He's fantastic.
Yeah, I've been wanting to pick his brain about the surplus market up here, but what his episode was mostly just complaining about Canadian gun laws, but we've done that to death.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to find new material about complaining about Canadian gun laws after a while. There's just so
Yeah,
much bad about it.
yeah. It's gotten to the point where it's just like I don't care anymore. Everything that can be said has been said.
Everything is
Everything's horrible. It kind of looks like America's on that path too, but we'll leave that for another time. That's
yeah, I honestly don't know enough about it, the
yeah.
situation in America to really talk about it for more than like 2 minutes. But
It's
um,
boring and complicated and not really good listening. So we'll save it for a more political episode.
yeah, yeah, definitely. But yeah, those were the two Ministry of Defense incidents that we've ran into so far. Luckily, nothing else. But we'll see.
Have you had to work with anyone really shady? Because I
Okay.
imagine that some of your contracts have come through, random Pakistani guy messaging you about, piles and piles and piles of Afghani sneakers. Has there been anything else like that?
Well, we try to do our best to vet people that we buy stuff from because a lot of the time we're spending not an inconsequential amount of money, so we do our best to vet. um we haven't really had any terrible experiences with the buyers themselves yet or the quality of the goods because usually we weed that out pretty damn quick. um but I imagine at some point there's going to be somebody that comes along that's going to be super shady. I mean, there was some random Chinese dude in our DMs the other day trying to sell us a bunch of like African camouflage that was made in China, which was very appetizing, I will say, because African stuff is really difficult to find. But
Yeah,
when we asked him for like paperwork and like export details and all that stuff to get it through US customs, he just straight up refused to give it. So that's a big
yeah,
red flag. If somebody can't, give proper documents or whatever to actually import the stuff to the States, I mean, immediate no go.
yeah. No, understandably. Before before people started reaching out to you, how did you source suppliers? It seems like something that you can't exactly go on like Craigslist and be, hey, we want 500 French smocks.
Well, here's the really funny thing. So when we started, it was literally in my bedroom, which was in the basement of my parents' house. So I would literally just go on Google when we first started, like having just registered like an LLC, just started marketing, all that stuff. I literally just searched military surplus wholesale, and like the first thing that came up was a company called Sturm Miltech, who is the wholesaler that invited us to SHOT Show in
Oh,
a couple months ago. So we still have a really, really, really good working relationship with them, and they're definitely by far our biggest supplier of stuff. It's a family-owned company as well, so it's super awesome to work with them. We went out to dinner in Vegas with them, and they're lovely, lovely people.
Sturm Miltech. It sounds like a Cyberpunk 2077 like Corvo. I kind of love that.
Yeah, it's a really cool name. It comes from their parent company in Germany, um, who we're actually going to go visit them in July. We're going to go out to their Berlin warehouse, which I've been told is 800,000 square feet of
Holy
surplus,
shit.
which is absolutely insane. Um, but the Sturm family has been in business in surplus for what, 50, 60 years?
Almost longer than that. And they have been with us even from the start and helped us along the way too on our journey, even though it's only been 2.5 years. But big shout out to the Storm family.
Yeah, they're awesome.
That's awesome. So I imagine that's who you use for your European supplier. What about domestic? You have a lot of American military stuff as well.
They are our domestic, actually our main domestic
Holy
military
shit.
supply, because they have a majority of the businesses in Germany, but a lot of the business is actually in the United States. They import for us, so basically they store and import as much as possible in the U.S. and then sell to us because they can import in much larger quantities. But I mean, they do have some stuff in Germany that we don't have, but they are not our main importer from international shipments.
Yeah, we do work with, I think it's 3 or 4 different companies in Europe that are exclusively in Europe. But Sturm has a USA branch and a German branch.
How's it going, lads and ladies? BR and Nathan here to take a quick break to tell you about our Patreon. Not only do we want to continue improving the quality of what we can do here on Art and War, but we want to push what we do all over at Seaburn Art, from the guides to pursuing video content and keeping us warm during another winter of illness and death, and the Patreon helps us get after it.
But what's in it for you? Our Patreon subscribers enjoy 5 different tiers of exclusive perks, ranging from all the content we'd post on a pre-Zuckerberg Instagram, downloadable high-resolution guides, targets such as Redcoat Skinwalkers, John Harvey Kellogg, seasonal targets, and more. Behind-the-scenes info like my personal art, introducing all new exclusive mini-podcast episodes, and at our highest tier, get monthly art commissions created by yours truly.
You can find our Patreon via the link in this episode's description, at patreon.com/SeaburnArt, or in the Seaburn Art page's bio on Instagram.
This episode was brought to you by AWS, Advanced Warfighting Solutions.
We use the shit out of their gear here at Art and War.
Everything's made in North Carolina, and they make everything.
Everything.
I'm a big fan of their SMU war belt, the snack pack, their assault pack, their plate carrier, kind of a big fan of everything. And they've been around for a long time with a lot of hard use kit.
Overseas and here at home.
Sorry, I'm just reattaching my phone. Sorry, it'd come loose. This is my fidget spinner, okay?
I know. AWS is our longest running sponsor, and they've helped us do a little bit of everything here at Art and War, from keeping the guides coming out by providing Nathan a new iPad, as well as chucking gear our way so we can get out there on the range.
Tough as hell gear so they can help us go LARP in the woods.
Yep, my assault pack comes out with me every time I'm in the woods. If you want to pick up a one-and-done Molly pistol belt, look no further than the AWS SMU belt. Use code ARTandWar10 for $10 off. We get no kickbacks, you just save money. Link to their site down in the description and in the Seaburn Art page's bio. Thanks for listening. Now let's get back to the show.
The world of surplus, it goes very deep. If you're immersed in it all the goddamn time, you find and see a lot of things that a lot of people otherwise wouldn't. And I think a lot of folks probably think that it's just like 1 or 2 big companies, but in reality, there's a lot of different players in that market, and it is a big market. I didn't really have any clue of how big surplus was worldwide until we started this.
I can imagine. It's something you don't really think about. You know, growing up in my city, there's an army surplus store where I remember you could get back in the day German Flecktarn jackets for $1 Canadian a piece.
Oh wow.
Yeah, no, it was fucking great. Same with the olive drab issued, a buck.
Mhm.
I had no idea where they were coming from or how they could turn a profit on it. These days, it seems like those things command a price. I should have bought a crate of them.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, that would have been a sound investment. It's kind of just like surplus firearms because there is a finite supply, and a lot of the time, especially with the German Bundeswehr, I mean, they've cut back big on surplusing, especially Flecktarn, because they were not very happy with the people that associated Flecktarn with particular ideologies, especially during the early years of the Ukraine conflict. So they kind of just turned that nozzle off, or at least very
Yeah,
low.
there's a finite supply that's already out there.
Hmm. Yeah, so it's definitely gotten more expensive, but I mean, if you compare a lot of it to like new production clothes for the quality, it's still a damn good deal.
Yeah, 100%. What has been something that you guys have really wanted to carry, but like, what's your golden goose? What is so far something you can't find but really, really want to have?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
There's a lot.
I have put together so many damn lists of just random stuff that I've given to wholesalers and like if you ever see this, call me immediately. Um let's see. I mean,
I want the Yugoslavia Adidas strip.
oh god, yeah. Yugoslavia had
They just had some like Adidas. They didn't like issue anything, but they had some really cool like Adidas like wear that was really popular back then. It's like retro '80s kind of
mhm.
vintage. It's like impossible to find.
Yeah,
Um,
cuz we
Like
that's
issue
another
Adidas, like Tree Poloski's.
not issued, but I bet
it's
you it
like
was used during
it's
the
some of it
Yugoslav
was used. Yeah,
wars. Yeah.
some of it was used, but it wasn't like they actually like issued it. It was just they happened to have a ton of cool
Mhm.
Adidas clothes down there for some
Yeah,
reason.
it's kind of like how during the Soviet Afghan war, the Russians went into combat with the Mujahideen wearing the, flat sole Adidas sneakers or the Adidas ripoffs. It was kind of that same deal, but Yugoslav.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so that would be super cool.
That'd be really freaking cool.
Another really cool place to get surplus out of would be either Ukraine after this war is over because they've received so much random miscellaneous foreign aid. I mean, there's camouflage from Latvia, the other Baltic states. I mean, who
Yeah,
knows in Ukraine right now that after that war is done, they're not going to want to keep because it's all
yeah.
non-standard issue for the Ukrainian armed forces. Second to that would be Russia because first off, the tariffs on Russian textiles right now are 90%. So if you try to
Oh,
import anything Russian, US customs will literally double the price that you already paid for it. So like if you
yeah,
pay like $20 for a digital flora jacket, it turns into $40. And when you're doing that in bulk, it gets super fucking expensive. And also Russians aren't really keen to sell to Americans at the moment unless they
yeah,
really hate Putin, which there are some.
yeah. I've heard that there's a lot of surplus and other things that are escaping over to the border into neighboring countries and being exported from there, but I don't know how true that is.
Honestly, I would say that that is 110% true. I haven't done that myself, or we haven't done that as a company, but there are a couple folks I know in the surplus community who will literally take plane trips to like Uzbekistan and then come back with like duffel bags full of EMR, the digital flora camo that the Russian army uses right now, and they'll
Yeah,
go on those trips literally just to grab that from like a local surplus store or something.
that is really cool. The surplus world. I walked in with no expectations at all, but I'm learning a lot. Like the flying around to come back over the border with duffel bags full of old Soviet uniforms to resell. That is cool. It is just a cool job that you don't really think about. The fact that you guys are buying. I keep on coming back to this Taliban surplus from just a random guy who messaged you on Instagram or TikTok or something from fucking Pakistan. That's cool. There's a lot of really weird like conflict relationships that sort of pop up and dealings that you'd never think about. Like the amount of distance that a lot of these items that you guys sell has to travel, or the history behind, like where the hell were these things sitting? You know, it's wild to me and also really fucking cool.
Oh yeah. I mean, like the really neat part about that is every single surplus item has some sort of story. It's just that some are more interesting than others, which, is why we always try to bring in the ultra cool stuff, but that is in short supply. So, we take it when we can get it, basically.
Yeah. God, it also it kind of blows my mind how young you guys are. I wouldn't have been able to tell. Like I didn't. Um,
I got to ask, how old did you think we were? Just a wild
Mid to late
guess.
20s.
Oh, okay. Okay. Fair enough. So you weren't like, oh yeah, this dude is like definitely 45 years old.
Most
No,
of the
no.
gun YouTuber ages about
Yeah.
there. That's about where they're all at.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like it's not that you guys look older or younger or anything. It's just how you carry yourselves, how you talk, and the fact that you have a wildly successful business already.
Yeah. I mean, we definitely did not expect it to take off the way it did. Honestly, I had zero like aspirations for, I wouldn't say zero aspirations, but like I had no idea how far it would actually take us and all of our friends, because the people we employ right now are all people we've known since at least middle school. Some of those relationships go back as far as what, kindergarten?
Yeah, I've known our editor Mac. I have known sadly since before kindergarten. Actually,
Unfortunately.
Sadly, well, on the record, fuck you, Mac.
He appreciates it.
Well, still, it's really fucking cool that from nothing, and I think a lot of it is to do with that, as you were saying, like that Gen Z humor, that TikTok stuff, that getting out there, and the whole new generation of it. I don't want to say just like shooters are buying your stuff, but that's a huge contingent of it. A
Mhm.
lot of that generation is young, like refreshingly so. I think it's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, I mean it's definitely a big refresher in the surplus market, because there's a lot of people don't know this, but there's an accompanying trade show the same week as SHOT Show in Vegas called ANME that is literally just for surplus. It's way smaller, like maybe 30 to 40 booths, but everyone there is typically at least what, 40? Yeah, 40 at least is probably the youngest you'll
at
get.
Amni,
Yeah.
Amni was interesting. Amni was very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you get a lot of folks who have been in the game for like 40 to 60 years, and they have warehouses full of stuff that they've forgotten even what it is because they've had it for so damn long. And that's kind of the staple for a lot of older surplus shops.
Very messy.
Yeah, very messy. Inventory is not kept. You kind of just have like 25,000 or 40,000 square feet of stuff that has been in there since you started the company in like 1964.
Yeah, a
Yeah,
lot of those guys don't have online sites either. They're not up tech
Mhm.
savvy. Everything's pen and paper,
Mhm.
and it's pretty black and white.
Yeah, so it's kind of rare for someone our age to be in the surplus market, which I think is also kind of why our company caught on so quickly.
yeah. Well, I think it's cool that you guys actually know about your product, which is something I haven't really seen before. In that whole like 40 to 50-year-old boomer, like I don't really know what I have. I got it from a company. They're all sitting in boxes. Take them all for a buck, kind of thing.
Hmm.
Um, that's the only surplus, at least in person, that I've ever been used to.
Yeah, me
Or
too.
like reselling stuff from Rothko and like Chinese plate carriers.
Yeah, and that's something we really try to do very well with, is making sure that the stuff we sell as surplus is actually surplus. There have been a couple instances where we buy something from a supplier under the impression that it is going to be surplus, and it shows up with like made in China tags on it. We're like, dude, what the fuck? Like that happened with a lot of the USGI stuff that we tried to get in after that trade show in Vegas. And it was incredibly frustrating because like I was expecting like US military issue ponchos and whoobies and shit in the newest multicam related pattern, and it was just made in China. And I was like, nope, that's really cool. Thank you.
Yeah, that fucking sucks.
Yeah, it was fine though. Not a huge deal. Just mark it down to the appropriate price and make sure you mark it as reproduction, because yeah, that's shitty.
Yeah. I assume just based on your internet presence, you guys are kind of end users as well too.
Uh Honestly, with the amount that that we work, I haven't gone shooting on my own aside from that range day with Brandon and Donut in like a year and a half.
I mean, like, I don't think being too busy is anything to be ashamed of.
Yeah, I mean, I also the ranges around where we are absolute. They suck. They suck so hard.
I wouldn't say they suck. I'd say it's a different style than what
It's
you know,
it's
some
very
places.
it's very controlled. You can't do any flat range LARPing where we are essentially. It's
Nah.
the range safety officer is like no more than 5 shots a minute, whatever, and it's kind of dumb because we only have like 3 or 4 ranges in our city, and it's a city of like 80,000 people.
What state are you guys based out of?
We're based out of Appleton, Wisconsin, right there, smack dab in the middle of the American Midwest. Also, drunkest city in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Based. I've been to Wisconsin once. It's a gorgeous place, but yeah, I don't remember anything. Cheese curds. I think cheese curds.
Yes.
Yeah,
Big
yeah, that
cheeseheads.
sounds about right. Did you go to
Yeah,
Quick Trip?
yeah. I was there for like 3 or 4 days 5 years ago. I wasn't into all this stuff back then, but it was great. I'd go out again.
Hell yeah! I mean, when we get that bigger warehouse, you guys should definitely come out. We'll probably be inviting a bunch of people eventually when that's all
Yeah,
set up.
I'd love to. That's actually like I'll try not to get pissed drunk and have another goat attack this time.
Oh
Um,
no, man. You can get as drunk as you want. It's Wisconsin. We have
it's hard
the
not
most
to.
beers per capita of any state.
Yeah, that is actually what I did last time. I don't remember a lot of the trip. And like I don't drink very much in general, but my frail Asian constitution unfortunately can't really deal with a lot.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Yeah.
It'd be like that sometimes. That's all I gotta say.
I'm still into the fact that you're fucking 21 and you've read Industrial Society and its future, and that makes me happy.
I think I read that in high school actually. Like when I was like 16. It was
Really?
a good Yeah, it was a good read.
Yeah.
I
That
was I
explains
was
a little
into
bit, actually.
Yeah,
Just a touch, just a skosh.
yeah. And I mean when I did go to college, I was a history major for a semester, so that's kind of where
Yeah.
I'm coming from.
Yeah. I think history is unrelated, and it kind of freaks me out how many people don't know about any of it. I had an honest to God conversation with a college educated 37-year-old woman the other day who said,
Oh no.
World War II, that's the one where Hitler was the bad guy, right? And
That's a way to put it. That's for damn sure.
yeah. And
Jesus
like, I
Christ.
wish that was the only time I heard something that fucking stupid, but it's all the time. It genuinely is. And I forget that growing up, I love history. I also went to university for a semester expecting to get a history major, and then I just didn't do that.
Yep. Sounds about right.
Yeah. But I kept all my electives stuff like European history. The most interesting class I did was the history of political violence. Um,
Ah,
yeah, no, it
interesting.
was dope. I learned a lot. Their professor was a very angry, short, red faced man who really fucking hated communism, which was big. Um,
I thought you were gonna say the British.
Also the British. No, it was is 80% like shit the KGB did, and then 25% shit the CIA did. There's an extra 5% in there for no reason, but whatever. Um,
No, it overlaps. Sometimes they were doing the same thing at the same damn time.
exactly. I'm Asian, but I'm not good at math. Um, but yeah, no, it kind of freaks me out how many people just don't know or care. And then I realized like the people who are interested in history, especially like military history and otherwise, enough to actually know or give a shit about any of it, it's not very many people. It's about probably the same amount of people who are interested in math.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds about right. Because I think to the average person, both math and history are kind of like almost the same thing in terms of how excited they get about it.
Yeah, it's dull topics. And I do really agree with the statement that those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. But enough about that.
Yeah.
So Amni, when we were at Amni, which is that wholesaler trade show for surplus, we've never been there before because we're such a new company, and Amni's been going on for years. I don't know exactly how long it's been going on, but it's been the same, companies throughout each of those years that have been around for the last 40, 50, 60 years, and they're the old guys, the old timers that are there with like the pen and paper. But when we went there, it was kind of eye-opening for just like, the community that every wholesaler knew each and every other wholesaler, and it's very tightly knit. So like if you, on terms of like a business deal, wrong did one of the companies or a wholesaler, the whole community would find out about it, and they talk. So it's kind of like drama goes through the surplus community about where things are coming from, or who's doing what, or if someone didn't pay so and so's order, or don't buy from whoever. It's just not really what I expected. And it was just that way because they are so small and have gotten smaller each year. And Logan, you can touch a little bit on it too, of how, I just thought it was kind of cool and interesting that that's what it was.
Yeah, because Anmi used to be a lot bigger from what we were hearing. It used to be probably 100+ booths, and these days it's like 40.
It was 40 or 50, and they said they used to fill up like the whole trade room. Plus, there was another room in do you remember what hotel? The Westgate, was it?
Yeah, Westgate
Hotel in Vegas, and they used to fill up both trade rooms, and now it's down to like 1/4 of one of these trade room floors. And a lot of it just is because these companies have not been able to keep up with the times, whether it's social media or marketing or just how to get their product out there as times have changed. Which is really cool because we kind of came in there and most everyone knew us and were asking about us because like we've kind of come into the market and definitely made a name for ourselves. But it was just very interesting how like everyone knew everyone, and they've known them for years, and we're kind of just coming into this and they also know us, and it's like now we're just kind of a part of this tightly knitted community.
Yeah, and it's really awesome too, because since everybody knows everybody else, it's super easy to do business. As long as you're doing things right and doing right by people, you'll be able to make a ton of connections. And honestly, I don't think I'd have it any other way, because there are many industries where people can be as slimy as they want and nothing will happen.
We've come across some of that too.
Yeah, but in the surplus community, people will talk about it and you'll gain a reputation for being shitty.
Yeah, and the coolest thing is too is all of these, a majority of the businesses that were at Amni are family owned businesses, or at least have been in the family since they've started, or have some connection to the original ownership of that company, which I think is really cool too. Because in my eyes and from our experience as well, it's always better to work with people who are really passionate about what they do, and part of that comes with keeping a business in your family, because if you're just working for a company that's not yours or your name, definitely have a different perspective on how you operate and handle your daily operations inside there. And it's been a pleasure to work with a lot of these businesses.
Yeah, I honestly can't say we've had any bad experiences with any of the folks that we've worked with, especially in the US.
And that are part of the surplus community.
Yeah, that's good. I like the idea of the community that pleases itself, not having to everything is built on reputation, and you can't really buy a reputation. You can only earn it.
Yeah, exactly. And putting that in contrast to the firearms community, which granted is a whole lot bigger, but there are some folks in that community that a lot of people who are also members of that community will take issue with, and vice versa. There's not so much of that in the surplus community. It's more or less just like, if you're a decent person and you do right by other people, you're good.
That's good, and that's actually really wholesome.
Yeah.
The one thing though I do want to bring up, and I don't know how much I should say on this, but we did find out too when we were in Amni that like the surplus community in a whole used to be really run by the community, which I thought was really interesting. I don't know if that could be said in there, but they had like it was a
Yeah, probably cut this out, Nathan.
Yeah.
But essentially, the story that we got from some of our wholesalers
Yeah.
was that the mafia
Yeah.
used to take things off of trucks and sell them as surplus, like from U.S. Army depots or from U.S. military shipments, and
Based.
a lot of sketchy stuff that went involved, and then they would sell it and through other wholesalers in the surplus business, and it would kind of transfer down until you couldn't really track where what the stuff came from, and then they would sell it off, and it's just a lot. It was obviously this is long gone now.
Yeah, this is like the 1950s and 60s.
But it was just really cool to hear that, and I mean, it's just interesting history in that industry itself, which is
that's
cool.
super interesting. I wonder if we can cut that into just remove the word and just keep it the mafia.
That's probably best.
Yeah. The community.
Yes, the community. The mafia took things off trucks. VR, that's up to you whether we keep that. But yeah, that is actually really, really fascinating. And I mean, there has to be
more to that, but we really only know the surface level. And I mean, that's just as far as we know.
Yeah.
And we're new players in the game, so there's a lot that we have never seen and people probably won't talk about and whatnot. But
yeah.
It does kind of suck that the world gets a little smaller every year, but it also is kind of the changing face of the times. All retail, like in our lives, we're kind of seeing the slow death of the brick and mortar retail establishment. And I think everything's kind of moving online, and people like you are pioneering that. I mean, people like you on the smaller end, Bezos on the bigger end, but still.
Yeah, and I mean, what we heard a lot from our wholesalers when we met with them this year, and not to toot our own horn, but they said that the way that we market surplus specifically is kind of like a trend leader in the industry. And I mean, we've seen it with other companies, and granted, we want every other company to succeed as well. And if they can do that by learning from our formula and how we do our marketing, that's all good. But I think that we've presented surplus in a new way, especially to new audiences, because a lot of the time our customers aren't people who have already been involved in the surplus community, be it firearms or clothing or whatever, but it's people who find it, affordable and comfortable and actually useful in their daily lives, which I think is really cool.
Yeah. That's actually something that I harp on quite a bit. If you're looking to save a little bit of money but still get something that'll keep you dry or save your life, the military fucks up a lot of things. And most militaries, this is true. They go for the lowest bidder on a lot of gear, usually sleeping gear, cold weather gear, and stuff to keep you dry. They do not cheap out on, no matter how shitty or cheap the military likes to equip everyone in every other way. Keeping those soldiers alive is usually a priority. So I usually tend to direct people towards surplus in that regard.
And I mean, here's another fun fact about how the U.S. military keeps things so cheap. We have an absolute fuck ton of the USGI Whoopee, right? The poncho liner, it's a blanket. It'll keep you warm and dry, whatever. All of them are made by the blind. All of them.
Really?
The U.S. military contracted a factory that exclusively employs blind people. And that's another reason why they're able to keep it so cheap, but still make good stuff, because there are factories out there who will only employ physically or mentally disabled folks who will make stuff for military contracts. And that's still the same to this day. There's a couple factories that I know of that have that same model, and they're still making like watch caps and fleeces and stuff for the U.S. Department of Defense. And I think it's really cool.
That's actually really cool. I did not know that at all.
Yeah, like all the big DoD boxes we get that are like a 10-pack of Whoopies, basically, it's how they stored them before they issued them, will have like National Association for the Blind written on the box. And like that's the manufacturer, which is actually, I think it's sick.
It's really cool. And they do a heck of a job making the Whoopie.
Yeah, I was going to say, I really like the Whoopies. I had one somewhere. I think it still might be just in like one of the various gear bins that now populate my garage and living room. Shit just kind of accumulates, Oh,
100%. You should see the warehouse right now. Oh God.
Yeah. You guys are getting a new warehouse soon, aren't you?
Yes, sir. That's the goal.
Yeah. We've been on the hunt for a little bit, and it was kind of always just an idea, but now we're to the point where like it has to happen or we won't be able to sustain what we are doing just because of space and space.
That's literally what it comes down to, because right now, between multiple storage units that we rent plus the 2,500 square unit warehouse we're in right now, we have maybe 3,500 or 4,000 square feet of space.
Yep,
total.
and it's all packed, and the warehouse where we are fulfilling orders and everything is a trip hazard and a half, and you have to wiggle by half the alleyways to get what you need. And definitely it's not the most efficient setup in the world, but the new warehouse is needed, and we think we found a place that's pretty good. It's just a matter of, one, getting the bank to actually give us the money, and two, actually getting the offer accepted, and then going through the process of moving in there and everything, which is, the whole thing is just a process.
Yeah, it's at the same time that it's annoying, it's also incredibly exciting, because when we rented this place about a year ago, almost exactly a year ago, yesterday, 1 year ago, we moved in, and we've already filled it up, plus 2 storage units. And that happened way more quickly than we expected. And I imagine the same thing is going to happen when we move into that new place.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Hopefully.
There's worse problems to have.
Yes, absolutely. But honestly, it's just been very, very impressive that people have latched onto the brand so quickly and actually really enjoy it. And I consider it a blessing. I know that all of us at AP consider it a massive blessing that people actually, support what we do, which is awesome.
How many people do you have working for you now? I know that there's at least 4 of you, but I don't really know past that.
6 technically, not including Ivan, not including us, so 6 employees, 2 full-time employees, and 1 that works almost full-time hours but is still part-time.
Yeah, and he's going full-time soon, because to be honest, we really need him. But yeah, right now it's still a really small team. It's sub 10 people.
Still, for a specialty industry like that, and especially an industry, well, a company that only started 2.5-3 years ago, that is very impressive.
Yeah, it's grown a lot more quickly than we expected, like I said earlier. I mean, just goddamn.
Well, as you grow, and especially as you have to deal with international shipments and otherwise, there's 2 things that I imagine you have to deal with, both of which I really hate dealing with, and that is customs and freight companies. Have you ever had any really bad experiences?
Oh God,
Jimmy. Cola.
Yeah, Jimmy, you want to lead this one off?
Well, for one, they took our chocolate yesterday.
Oh, fuck them. Fuck.
Not a big fan of that.
No.
Caffeinated chocolate, to be clear. It's what keeps me through my days.
I like to imagine that they only took it because U.S. Customs is struggling to keep their employees alive because it's such a boring job, so they needed the caffeinated chocolate. But
yeah.
I really would have rather had it myself, to be completely honest.
Yeah, customs is definitely one of our biggest headaches, especially when importing. The U.S. loves to tax everything, and they love to tax every, I want to say, like, category of item differently. And then if they, obviously if you mislabel that category or what that may be, with your shipping codes, they don't like you. And they'll take it or they'll fine you, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah,
we had our biggest.
This is our biggest and our first L ever in terms of like trying to get product.
Yeah, we had a huge success with the Russian MREs when we came out. They were awesome. People loved them. We really only have been able to carry the Sopaco MREs and then the US what are the
US MREs
from MRE Star.
Yeah.
And so we were able to get some Russian MREs, and they were really good and tasted amazing.
Really?
And yeah, they're actually like, I wouldn't eat it every day just because my stomach would kill me.
Yeah.
Because of how processed it is and how much salt is in there.
Yeah.
But they were actually like enjoyable to eat, and people loved them. TikTok loved it. We
That's
had
interesting.
and we got in contact with a guy in Poland who was like, I can get you Bundeswehr rations, I can get you Polish rations, I can get you French rations. And so I started working with him for like 3 months basically on gathering these rations and getting it all together. And he's never sent freight before, so it was just a whole process just to get everything in. And we were like, this is going to be awesome. It's going to be like the Russian MREs. We're going to have products in the US that nobody else has. Well, it turns out that majority, like 95% of manufacturers who manufacture food in the EU do not have FDA registration numbers. And when
Oh,
you import freight, you need to have an FDA registration number. And I did some research and everything beforehand, but we didn't have a huge issue with customs getting the other ones here. And there is another company in the US that does carry these kind of MREs, but it turns out that we found out later that they basically drop ship them from the EU to kind of avoid importing. And so the package got to customs and they just were like, nope, no. And it just sat there, and they're like, you're either going to have to ship this back or you're going to have to pay us to destroy it, basically.
what the fuck?
It was like, it wasn't too bad of a hit. It was like $8,000 worth of MREs, but with shipping was about 6,000 just from Poland. And then with the amount of time, energy, and everything, it was definitely one of the saddest work moments I've had in a long time.
Yeah, basically we flushed a nice used car down the toilet.
That sucks. That
but you live and you learn, I guess. I don't know.
Obviously don't incriminate yourselves for it, but is there any way really around that? Could you import it to another country
So we tried.
Yeah.
we tried. Misty Mountain Supply in Canada. We were gonna send
I buy my rations from him.
Yeah, we were gonna send him our rations because we're friends with him and he's helped us out with a few deals. And then I was like, at this point, I was struggling to figure out what I was gonna do with these things.
Yeah.
And I was like, Misty, I will just give them to you. Just take them. I'll ship them to you. And someone needs to make money off this other than me, because I'm not. I'm already in the hole. And he's like, yeah, I'll do this. I've got connections in the government. We'll make this work. And basically, he did everything he could. And then we got to the last day where we were going to get fees.
Oh, my Lord. Sorry.
No, you're okay. You're okay.
I gotta go take this phone call. My guy Larry just called me.
No worries. We'll pause.
So the customs stuff, we imported it. We had to flush it. Well, we ended up flushing it, but I was trying to get it to Misty, and Misty, like, we were so close, and then he just needed the manufacturers to confirm that they kill listeria or the bacteria when they manufacture the food products, that they actually are cleanly. They just literally have to give a written statement that they do that.
Yeah.
And none of them would do that for him. And we did get a hold of almost all the manufacturers, and they're just like, yeah, we don't do that. That's why we don't import. And like, it's just, you're not going to get that from us.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And so basically that was the day we're just like, okay, we got to get this. We got to let customs know that they just got to dump the load and just take the L on the shipment, basically. Which is,
at that point, though, like, this is not legal advice. This is absolutely not what I would do. I'm not saying that you do this, but at this point, you just mock one up in Photoshop and just like throw a official stamp on it. Be like, yes, American government here. We. Like,
yep, and that's, I mean, I wish we could do something like that, but it's just not, they're just stingy about it. So what did Larry have to say?
Yeah, so backstory on this Larry character. Basically, there's a local military museum.
The Larry character being why your phone just went off at friggin' late o'clock.
Yes, Larry is a fantastic guy. He works with a museum called the Military Veterans Museum in Oshkosh. And they are liquidating a bunch of their stuff, which includes anything from like World War I era U.S. military surplus to the 1970s and 80s. Basically, we are buying a full semi-trailer load of vintage USGI shit He is the
What?
guy who hooked us up with that deal.
And it's
That
some
is
of the
so
oldest.
interesting.
Yeah,
Like,
it
your
was
guys' life
really
is just interesting.
I mean, it's a pretty fun job, honestly. It's definitely the best one I've ever had.
I say
Yeah.
we live in a sitcom.
Yeah, we do live in a sitcom. Honestly,
Yes.
we do. This warehouse is like, I don't even know how to describe it. We live.
It's a word. It's a word. Bird is the word.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know what like time in Wisconsin it is. Probably what, 9 p.m.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, and you've got a guy from a military museum calling you at night to talk about selling you a trailer full of old like Vietnam era shit, World War One USGI stuff. That's wild. That's like that's interesting.
It's pretty damn cool, and like they don't even know what's in it. It's literally just a semi trailer, like a semi trailer piled like 4 to 5 feet high with miscellaneous pieces of clothing. There's probably like 3,000 pieces.
If not more.
Yeah,
Is this
in
kind
there.
of a Storage Wars thing where you're just going to send him a bid and just take it?
Yeah, it actually kind of is.
That's basically it. Yeah.
There's one other guy that they've been selling to us before they actually contacted us about it. That was Georgia, I believe he's
Mhm.
from.
Yeah.
And he's been placing bids on it and then renting a U-Haul truck and throwing it in. And I guess it hasn't been working out too well. So that's why they're like, it's better to work with someone local. But he's
Mhm.
still, we're making a bid on it, I think, with us
Mhm.
as well. So whoever I guess gives the better bid,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we'll find out.
Yeah, and there is some really cool stuff in there too. Like we got invited down there to take a look at it, and one of the first pieces I pulled out was a 1930s U.S. Navy deck jacket that has like clasps on the front, no buttons, no zipper. It's just brass clasps.
That's awesome.
And I looked it up. I looked it up. There's literally no originals for sale online. Like that's the kind of shit that we're talking about. And I guarantee you, when we go through that stuff, we're gonna find some really cool stuff.
We're keeping some of it for
Oh,
our own museum in the future.
100%.
Like that is just interesting. Just the friggin' rogues gallery of people that you deal with. The sorts of people that actually have half tracks full of old gear. And the fact that you have these contacts, it's fucking wild to me, and I kind of love it.
Honestly, it's probably the most fun part of the job is getting to know these people. Like, you want to talk about the Serbian man a little bit?
Oh, Nikolai.
Yeah.
Nikolai's my man. We get like, and so some of them like we like Nikolai I found through, well, he also emailed us, but I stumbled across him on eBay, and we hit him up through his eBay store called is Yugoslavia Stuff.
Mhm.
It's just like the name of the eBay store is Yugoslavia Stuff, and he had some really cool pieces on there. And I added him, like we got email back and forth a little bit, added him on WhatsApp, and then now we use, I think it's called like Sling or something. But he's gotten us all of that blue tiger stripe camouflage that we've had, which is awesome, and some of the rarest camo that we've had. But the first shipment we bought from him, we bought all of the stuff that he had on his store on eBay. It was like, I want to say like $3,000 worth of stuff. And he texted me after we sent over the money, and he was like, I am now retired for 2 months. I am going to go on my journey, and I will let you know what I find. And so 2 months later, he hits me back up, and he's like, I went on my journey, went on vacation, had the best time of my life. Now that I have money, I moved out of the, he was, I guess, in some really bad area.
Serbia.
Serbia. And he's like, it's all thanks to you guys. And like, you guys have changed my life and keep doing business. And now like every month he hits us up with like, he just takes a month, puts a small shipment together of stuff. And a lot of times it's not even that much stuff, to be honest with you.
No, it's just that the caliber of the stuff in the shipment is like really cool. Like dead stock vintage Serbian military stuff still in the original factory packaging, or like some random Yugoslav experimental camouflage, or like modern Serbian issue stuff, which doesn't get surplused. Yeah. So it's those random connections that you just kind of find over time are absolutely the best.
And he's a funny guy too.
Yeah.
He's a really, really professional guy too. He's one, because sometimes we get hit up by these guys and they've either never done business with like, business to business before, or they're, just the way that there's a communication barrier or something like that, but he's been great, from A to B. He's helped, brought us some
Absolutely.
really cool stuff. So
Yeah.
So, other than U.S. Customs, have you ever been dicked around by shipping companies? Because it's one of the things that I probably hate the most, just kind of as a consumer, like an end user.
yes.
The look
Yes.
on both of your fucking faces.
It's not we haven't, at least with freight shipping companies, I've heard some really bad horror stories, and we have luckily only had one kind of mess up where we lost and misplaced a pallet, and we didn't have video footage of us fully taking off the pallet of the truck, and because of that they wouldn't approve the insurance claim for the missing pallet of goods. But that was only once, and since then we've put cameras up. But in terms of like shipping services like UPS and USPS, both are awful and great in their own ways. UPS is impossible to get a hold of. And when you do get a hold of them, they normally aren't that much help and tell you to go online. And for my customers' experience too, when like their package goes missing or something like that, it is a pain in the butt. And with USPS, it's typically pretty good. It's just sometimes packages just magically never get scanned in, and we'll have like a bag of packages that just get lost, and then I'll get emails from people all on the same date and time that their orders were fulfilled, like, hey, it's been a week, where's my package? And I find out that a whole bag went missing or something like that. But
yeah, and I mean, some freight companies, especially just like the random miscellaneous ones that like we maybe only work with once, will tack on just ludicrous bullshit charges to whatever they're doing for you.
I fucking hate that.
Yeah, it's probably the worst part of working with random freight companies. Like one of them tried to charge us a couple $100 because they said that our warehouse was a storage unit. It's not a storage unit. It has a bathroom, everything that a warehouse has.
it's labeled as a commercial building. It's not not a storage unit,
Yeah, and that was one of those freight companies where like you could not reach them either. So,
oh
like,
yeah,
you can't.
I spent hours trying to call them, and then I ended up having to go through a third party and we ended up having to pay it because they threatened they would just send us emails but not respond to our emails, and they threatened to put us in collections, and it was like,
yeah, and that would have just tanked the company's credit, so we just ended up having to pay it even though it was complete bullshit. But whatever, it's chill.
And then especially when we deal with ports too, we get tacked on fees all the time, but that's when you just call and are like, what the heck is this for? And no, I'm not paying that.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh yeah, you're right, you don't actually have to pay that. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. It's like, hey, an extra $2,000 to take it off the boat for you, kind of thing.
Yep, exactly. And like, oh yeah, but you already paid the $6,000 to ship the item and paid for all that, but we're gonna also just tack that extra on there, and it's just
yeah. And
like,
I imagine a lot of companies are big enough that they, it's just another line item. The invoices just get paid without really anyone thinking about it. But yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, especially when it's a smaller company. That I imagine that's screwed over a lot of smaller businesses that don't know that that's just bullshit, and like you can talk them out of doing that because it's not an actual charge.
Yeah,
which is probably the worst part about it, in my opinion.
So do you guys? I know you do a lot of surplus, but do you have any plans on making your own clothing or gear? Even?
Yes, absolutely. We've had stuff in development since 2021, so we're going on about 2 years now that we've been working on this. But the reason that it's taking so damn long is because we want it to be
so goddamn good.
Exactly. We want it to be an heirloom product that people will find in vintage and thrift stores like 80 years from now and still say, damn, that's some drip. And it's still in good, perfectly working shape. So that's kind of our goal, because eventually surplus will dry up.
That is something else I wanted to ask you about. I imagine there will always be surplus of some kind. Like, today's GWAT gear is yesterday's Vietnam era gear.
Exactly. But one thing I'm not looking forward to in that, to kind of derail the conversation even further, is when everything is multicam. But to get back to upcoming original clothing, we're currently developing a work jacket, and now the style of the jacket is kind of more like a bomber jacket. So you have like the elastic waistband, and wool knit cuffs that kind of like conform to your wrists and to your waist to keep heat in. And that's something that not a lot of work jackets actually have. Um, so it's going to be kind of an experimental kind of style of jacket. We're going to call it like a heavy bomber jacket, because it's made of like a heavy cotton canvas fabric that's cut and wind resistant. So it's going to have the quality of a work jacket, but with the fit and style of a bomber jacket. And we're going to be making it in rare extinct camo patterns like Blumentarn or West German Bundesgrenzschutz Sumpftarn, which is like obscure patterns from the 50s and 60s, that if you buy original are like $300 a piece. But our goal with this jacket is going to be able to get that quality, get that longevity, um, and bring it in at a price point that is hopefully 150 or less, brand new.
That's fucking drippy. I like that. In before some guy fucking DMs asking if it's IR treated, which actually would be cool. So I don't know. It came to my mind, so perhaps I'm just projecting.
I mean, yeah, I know with some of the newer apparel that we do carry from like Kilo Tactical, by the way, Kilo Tactical, fantastic. We've carried a lot of their stuff and I wear it a lot. But one problem is that some of their stuff is not IR treated. Hopefully, if it's in the budget, we could do that to our jacket, but I'm not sure how much that costs. And given that we're already going to be making custom production fabric, which itself is expensive, I'm not sure if it's going to be practical.
Yeah, understandably. I don't think anyone could fault you for that.
Yeah, but we will see. If it's possible, I would like it to be like that, but we're not to that stage yet where I can say yes or no. And also, I'm gonna send you some pictures of it. We've had some prototypes made that are actually pretty fucking sick. So I'll send you some pictures of it after this.
Yeah, of course. I'd love to see.
Yeah, I'm really excited for it, and hopefully maybe we can have it out by the end of this year. But again, it's still in development. We don't really have a solid timeline yet, but we will see.
Of course. How did you guys get involved with a lot of the people that you're involved with? Like Admin Results, I know is you sponsor his channel and a couple others.
I don't remember exactly what it was because I think we've been sponsoring Admin for a year or more at this point, but I'm pretty sure I just DM'd him one day and was like, "Hey, bro, how do we sponsor one of your videos?" And he directed me to Leviathan Group, who at the time was managing his sponsorships. And I'm not going to go into too much detail there because that's for him to discuss.
Yeah,
I'm not going to talk about that. But
of course,
we ended up working with him through Leviathan, and it's continued to be a really fantastic relationship because that flat range LARPing style works really, really well with Surplus.
Yeah.
Also with the firearms and stuff that he does content with. I mean, it's a match made in heaven, basically. Because whenever we get something cool in, I'll text Aaron and be like, "Hey, we have this cool shit. You want some for maybe some future content or something like that?" And now he's got something in case he ever wants to do like Yugoslav Wars LARP or whatever else. Because we kind of, we have that stuff and we can make it available to him to make cool content with firearms.
I love him. He's just a cool fucking guy. I think I told you, or you were possibly there for this, but I'd never seen him when I met him at SHOT Show. And he just kind of came up behind me, just like, "Hey, Nathan!" And I'm like, "Who the fuck is this?" And we'd already recorded twice at this point. He's like, it's Aaron." I'm like, "Aaron? Who the fuck?" Oh, and then it clicked, and it's like this very jacked man just appearing behind me at the fry party, and it was nice. He's a very, very wholesome individual. I really like him.
Yeah, man. Every single damn time I hang out with Aaron, it is always just fantastic. Like,
yeah,
he's just a fun dude and wholesome. That's about how I can describe Aaron. He's just fucking fantastic.
I like him. I like the man behind the mask. I have an Arc'teryx balaclava. I don't know how big his head must be to keep it up. Like, I have the smallest size, and I have a big fucking head, and it just wants to like fly off at any given point. It is the loosest thing.
Oh God. We'll never know his secrets. I'm sure he keeps that under lock and key.
He like has double-sided tape or like staples or something.
Yeah, he just tapes it to his face. Yeah. That sounds that sounds about right.
Genuinely, I pin it to the side of my head with my ear protection and like hope it doesn't come off.
Fuck it.
It seems you guys have like a good community of followers and customers. What are they like?
Oh Lord. There's a lot of gems in that community. I
It's
can't lie.
interesting. Without saying too much, it's fun to see.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, like I can speak from the back end of things. Like, so on our store, when you make an order, you can place an order note, right? Like you don't have to, but you can. A lot of the people who order from us will request the dumbest shit imaginable. Yesterday, when I was on fulfillment, somebody asked me to kiss their package and include a photo of me kissing it into the package. And that's and that's like a semi-weekly occurrence that something like that almost exactly will happen.
I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, it is fucking hilarious. But also there are other times when they'll request like draw me a penguin with an SVD or some shit, and that goes on the outside of the box or whatever. Or there was this one dude, I can't remember exactly where he was from. I think it might have been Canada. So a Canadian customs agent is going to see this package, and he requested that we put a sticker on it that says "Warning: Big dildo inside." I remember one of my employees handed it to the UPS guy, and he just died laughing. It was so good.
That is incredible.
Yeah, our community is very very lively, and I mean, given the style of marketing that we do, I I fully expect anything and everything to happen in the comment section or on order notes or in customer service emails or whatever. Just because we kind of do have that image where it's like anything goes so long as it's not like terribly awful in some way.
Yeah, anthrax.
Yeah, or yeah, that would cross the line just by a little bit.
Yeah. That being said, fuck Canadian customs. I'm just going to say it. Fuck the CBSA. They're awful.
On God,
Yeah.
they're. Have you ever ordered something from the U.S. and they try to charge you up the ass for customs duties?
That or they just like take it. I ordered a holster, a T-Rex holster, just one of their Ragnaroks a while ago, and it was just like a Ragnarok with TLR1. Like when I say that, like it was a holster cut for the light, and I also ordered the light. It sat in customs for a year.
What?
I'm not joking, a year. My customs stopped updating in February of 2022, and I got it late February 2023. Like it just arrived.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
What?
A fucking year. I didn't order it from T-Rex, to be clear, and apparently they had. I was talking to Kyle from T-Rex about it a little while ago. They've stopped shipping through USPS because customs fucks with anything that comes through Canada Post. They do. I think they take like American tactical, so and so periphery gear companies, and they blacklist them. Anything from a particular address or company will get scrutinized to hell and back. So I think they ship DHL now, which kind of sucks because it's a little more expensive, but it'll actually get to you without having to wait 3 to 6 months. But this isn't the only time it's happened. I ordered a couple of like folding little box cutters, these things, and they held them for like 2 months. And anything remotely like gear related or adjacent, they will keep. They don't even care. Sometimes it'll never get to you. I'd written off the holster ever getting to me.
Yeah, because I mean, after a year of a package being MIA, you're just kind of like, okay, it's
Custom stole this for literally no reason, or it's just sitting in the back of like a dusty warehouse somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, with a Ragnarok holster, you could easily assume that they took it just because they thought it was nicer than what they have.
Yeah. Oh,
that too.
100
run into that. Yeah, I mean, you run into that a lot, especially in South American countries. We've had the same damn issue where customs will straight up just steal the package and keep whatever's in it just because they want it.
I hate that. I hate that so much.
It's really, really shitty.
Yeah.
It's really shitty. I guess customs agents have that kind of that power. I suppose.
Kind of executive authority. We had So in Canada, and this is fucking stupid. This is one of the dumbest. Like the list of laws in Canada that are really, really, really dumb. It's very long. You could fill a book with it. But one of the dumbest laws is switchblades are illegal, and how the government defines a switchblade is if you press a button, it automatically opens. Because of that, spring assisted knives are legal because they don't have a button. Like so, spring assisted knife is you click it a little bit open, and the spring opens it the rest of the way. Kind of
Yeah.
similarly to a lot of workarounds in America, it's kind of a workaround around the law. Customs will go out of their way to fuck anyone as much as they can. And a local guy, he imported 10 of them. Just the still legal spring assisted knives that you can fucking buy on Amazon. And they raided his house and kicked his door down and arrested him for smuggling illegal weapons. This 47-year-old man who's clearly, even if they were real fucking switchblades, who gives a
I
shit?
mean, like it's a switchblade knife.
Yeah,
Even if that was technically illegal, that there's literally 0 point to
yeah. There's
doing that.
there's no point, and there's this masturbatory article in the CBC saying like, well, we need to keep these dangerous weapons off our streets and keep Canadians safe. And fucking what?
Yeah, no, it's the same damn thing as equating selling camouflage to supporting domestic terrorism. It's
Yeah,
literally the same damn thing,
yeah.
and both of them are equally stupid.
No, absolutely. And it was just like, I don't know, some fucking Karen customs agent was like, "Oh, well, this is clearly a deadly dangerous weapon and only a bad person would want to have this despite it actually being legal." And they've just ruined this guy's life over it because it turned out he had allegedly had a couple of unpinned mags in his house according to the CBC article. But also, who
Oh
gives a
my,
shit about that either? But yeah, Canadian customs and probably most customs are net negatives. I hate them.
yeah. I mean, honestly, if I mean, granted, if customs wasn't a thing, we'd probably have a little bit of a problem.
Yeah,
But I mean, goddamn, some of the stuff they get upset over is so minuscule that it's really just crossing your T's and dotting your I's. And if they actually took a look at the situation for what it is, it would not be an issue.
I'm at the point where it's like, fuck it. You should go ahead, mail that guy meth. I don't care. I just want my fucking
I mean, basically, yeah.
holster.
Recently we had another customs bra moment where we imported Afghan war rugs again from the same dude we've always bought them from, never had an issue with them before, and US Customs was like, these packages, they have rugs on them that have the Twin Towers on them. They are
Fucking
getting
what?
detained. Yeah. And like, I've been
What?
yeah, I've been dealing with this for the past like 2 weeks or so, and we invested not an inconsequential amount of money in buying rugs because this is one, our biggest shipment of rugs we've ever bought, and two, rugs are expensive because
Yeah.
they're handmade, like a week each to make. They just refused to release them from customs even after I gave them like commercial invoices and stuff, and they said it might take up to 90 days for them to actually finish shipping them to us,
What?
which is asinine. It's asinine, so bad.
That's so fucking dumb and bad. And also, the rugs have the Twin Towers on them.
Yeah, we sell a little something called the 9/11 rug. Uh, uh,
Oh, no.
so basically, after we fucking nuked Iraq, basically, the Afghans were like, we're gonna make some rugs, and we're gonna call them peace rugs. They've got like a little dove on them with an olive branch. It's really quite a nice gesture, but they made these rugs to point out specifically the fact that there were no Afghans involved in the 9/11 attacks, because I think a lot of Americans at the time when we were invading Afghanistan probably just lumped them in together with whoever actually committed the terrorist attacks on the Twin Towers. And Afghans were kind of like, what the fuck? I never knew even that this happened and you're invading my country. I'm very confused. So they
Yeah.
started making rugs to kind of commemorate that point of view of the invasion of Afghanistan by NATO.
That is really, really interesting and also weird. And that is something we brought up on the show before. just how bizarre, the invasion of Afghanistan must have been to people who legitimately don't have television or the internet.
I mean, I've heard a little bit about how in some places in northern Afghanistan, when U.S. troops were deployed there for the first time, the locals didn't even know anything about the Soviet-Afghan War. They had never fucking heard of it, and they were really, really confused to see Americans in their little town that's been the same way it has been for the past 1,000+ years,
Yeah,
because they'd never heard anything about the central government in Kabul or the Soviets or the Americans or 9/11 or
yeah,
anything, just because those communities are so isolated,
yeah. That is really
which was
interesting.
fascinating.
I would like to get like a former translator or something on here to kind of give a bit of insight. Now that all of this stuff is over, well, ostensibly,
Yeah.
I would like an Afghan translator's interpretation on everything that went down, like kind of from the perspective of someone who was local.
Yeah. And I mean, Afghanistan, I think its history and its culture is really slept on by
Yeah.
Americans. I
Oh,
mean,
it's fascinating
definitely
stuff.
because, yeah, I mean, definitely because we were embroiled in such a shitty conflict over there for questionable reasons. But
Yeah,
I mean, talking to Pakistanis and Afghans is probably one of the most interesting things that I'm able to do because of this job. And if you can get someone from the ANA or whoever who's had a decent experience or just even a sort of long life in Afghanistan, I think that would be absolutely amazing.
yeah. Mitch was trying to get his terp on for a little while, but couldn't get a hold of him. I'm going to have to reach some. And if you're listening to this right now and you have a line on an Afghani interpreter that has come over here that'd be willing to talk about it on air, I'd really appreciate you shouting out because I think that'd be fascinating listening. And also, I,
Yeah,
I would really love to pick the brain.
that would be fucking awesome.
Yeah. Have you ever followed? He's a little bit of an internet celebrity, and some people will recognize it. I'd be very surprised if you don't. The story of Lord Miles.
Oh god, dude, I saw I saw the Taliban public relations department tweet about him the other day,
Yeah.
and that was
Has he
probably
been
the
found?
first, not that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
I think he's missing. But that
Fuck.
was the first time I never heard of him, and I kind of went down the rabbit hole and learned like the surface level information about him. But he's an interesting character. That's what I'll say. What exactly happened to him? Did he go missing while he was traveling in Afghanistan? I
I'm
think
reading
that's
about it right now. Apparently, he was last seen in Brazil, so I'm not quite sure. Tweets from one Twitter account claiming he was last allegedly seen in Afghanistan, but police uh, haven't confirmed it. Apparently, his last video was taken in Brazil, but I feel like he would be.
maybe he wandered into the Amazon to return to tradition because of all those uncontacted tribes. That's probably where he's at, if
Yeah,
I had to guess.
there is no proof that Lord was in fact in Easter country in the first week of March 2023, as the tweets claim. He did take a trip to Snake Island in Brazil, which is deemed as the most deadly island on the planet. All
Oh,
right,
maybe that explains it.
that explains a lot. I hope he's okay. But
Why
yes,
exactly the most? Why exactly is that the deadliest island in the world, though?
according to this fairly nebulous article, snakes.
Oh, okay. It is called Snake Island. I guess that makes sense.
But yes, for anyone listening, it's worth looking into him. I don't want to talk about someone that I only have basically a Twitter and Wikipedia knowledge of, but he is an interesting individual that got stuck in Afghanistan during.
Was that during the withdrawal?
Yeah, and he
Okay,
was
that's
already friends with the Taliban and was funny enough making dealings with them for rugs, and kind of ended up kind of buddy buddy with the local government.
oh, that's so funny. That's so fucking funny.
Yeah,
Just a corked up white boy
yeah.
traveling to Afghanistan to visit the Taliban.
Pretty much, yeah. A 21-year-old British student who traveled to Afghanistan during the events of the 2021 Taliban offensive and was reporting his situation on 4chan and Twitch.
That's a hell of a combination of social media platforms. Holy shit.
Yeah, yeah, and he posted a bunch of photos of him. There's one here of just him wearing a distache in the middle of the street. Miles Arthur LaVisconte Rutledge, which is like a mouthful of a fucking name.
Average British name.
Yeah, he just goes and he just travels to dangerous places, which is pretty fucking cool. Yeah, he went to Afghanistan for a 5-day trip. Said he didn't think the capital would be taken in that period, and yeah, big L on that one. It absolutely was.
Just coincidentally happens to show up as soon as the Taliban overthrow the local government.
Yeah. In the same thread, Miles wrote that in all his bank cards, he has Lord as a term of address after tricking his bank into doing it, and expressed what this would provide him negotiating power in the event of capture.
Honestly, that is probably true. If you go to the Taliban and say that you're a British lord, yeah, that probably would convince them.
Yeah. I find this super, super interesting. No, according to this, he was actually evacuated. I don't know how much about him becoming friends with the Taliban is true. A lot of it could be just conjecture and internet rumors, but
that sounds a lot like a folk legend to me.
Yeah, who knows? It's the internet. Like internet legends are. It's a wild and wacky place. Just the folk tales that come out of even now. Like now we have phones and cameras and everything else. I don't see anything about it here. It chronologues his entire story, and it looks like he actually made it to an embassy and got evacuated. But I wonder. Apparently, the rumors of him becoming a friends with the Taliban were made by that Twitter account we were talking about earlier.
Interesting. Honestly, if that account is satire, that makes a hell of a lot more sense. But
It
also,
does.
if it was legit Taliban, that also makes sense.
Yeah,
because they'd want to make themselves look as good as possible.
Yeah, which I respect, actually. I still, I've got a headcanon that it is like some bored 18-year-old, like probably studied in Britain or America intern that went back and now this is just his job. And I really hope that's true.
Honestly, I hope that is true too, because I want to see what a Gen Z Taliban guy looks like. I want to see that so badly. so badly.
Oh, 100% Probably has the haircuts like puffy on top, shaved on the sides.
He's single-handedly introduced the jewel to Afghanistan.
They got rid of all their shishas. They smoke stilths now. They smoke jewels.
Ah, yes, the Newport menthols, Nathan. Jesus
heck.
Christ.
But yeah, no, I think it'd be really cool for you guys to actually do. I don't want to be like, I don't want to say like conflict tourism, but it would be cool to travel to some of these places that you're doing dealings with.
I mean, like, I did kind of get an invite to go to Kyiv.
Really?
Over SHOT Show. One of our because one of our wholesalers has that European connection, and they have another guy who works for a different company who sells ballistic eyewear. And we sell those same goggles and stuff. Like they're current issue for the UAF, the Ukrainian Armed Forces. And this guy has connections with the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense because he's sold so many damn pairs of these glasses to the Ukrainian Armed Forces. So naturally he'll go on business trips to Kyiv, and he kind of tentatively invited me to go at some point. My family was like, no, you can't go to Ukraine.
Yeah.
But it was very, very tempting because, I mean, it would just be kind of cool. And I mean, not to make light of the situation over there, it's not tourism worthy, obviously, because people are dying and families are being torn apart and all that.
No, it's really tragic stuff.
But it would be neat to take a trip to that part of the world. And I feel like eventually after the war is over, especially, and when the company has gotten bigger and I can kind of afford to leave for longer periods of time, that kind of foreign travel is going to be really fucking cool, especially considering what we're already into.
Yeah, I think so as well.
And a trip to Afghanistan, holy shit. That would be a trip of a lifetime. That's all I'll be able to say.
Well, hopefully it won't be another Lord Miles situation where you're being whisked off to a safe house,
Fingers crossed, but you never know.
Yeah. Is there anywhere else that's high up on your list of places that you'd go, just for the history, if nothing else?
I want to go to Ireland.
Yes.
We're just to check things out. because I mean, I'm mostly curious to see if like people in Ireland would recognize who we are, like if we were wearing like company merch or something. Because for a bit we were in the national news cycle,
Yeah.
so that would be
I
interesting.
wonder. I mean, one of the hosts on the show is Irish and lives out there. I wonder. I'll send him a message.
Oh God, I if he listens to their national radio, I bet he probably heard that story.
He's
But
actually involved with journalism, so that would
oh really?
he,
Okay,
he
maybe he
keeps
did then.
yeah
That
he
would be
keeps his ear
funny
to
as
the ground.
shit.
Yeah.
But also my family is Irish, so I've always kind of wanted to go to Ireland. Because my Irish, uh, my surname is Irish, McGrath, and a funny story behind that too. Um, we got that surname in our family because an Irish immigrant who I don't know the name of actually, I only know his last name because he got a woman in New Jersey pregnant in 1876 or 75 or so and then left. So that's where my Irish name comes from, and I think that's awfully Irish in a really stereotypical way, but it's a fun story. It's interesting. That's literally the entire story. I know nothing else about this Irish man. All I know is that he's in my family tree and I have no clue who he is.
So we're coming up on 2 hours here. So before I know it's fucking late there and it's pretty late here. Before we wrap this up, you should show yourself to the probably few people who don't know who you are.
Well, we are a pretty damn new company, so if you don't know who we are, that is completely fine.
No, shame.
We I'm the owner of a company called Americana Pipedream. We sell military surplus, outdoor camping gear, a little bit of vintage clothing when we can get it. Just generally good stuff. We've got an Instagram, americana.pipedream, on TikTok as well, even though that is a shitty platform. Twitter also, www.americanapipedream.com. Also, the Americana Pipecast on Spotify. Only 2 episodes so far, but that's kind of where we just talk shop about the military surplus industry and whatever else is going on with the company. So if you'd like to check it out, that's all our socials.
Excellent. Anyways, they have 9/11 rugs if you would like to have in your entryway just a giant picture of the two towers. I think that would be good. I think that's a good look. Go buy it
Yes.
at americanapipedream.com.
And as an added bonus, some of the rugs also depict people jumping out of the towers, which I thought was an
Oh
interesting
man, that's awful.
Yeah, it's definitely incredibly morbid, but I mean, whatever.
Before we wrap up, you got any I mean you're probably actually our youngest guest, I think. You have any dad advice? Could be like
Oh, try to avoid fatherhood until you're about 24 or 25 and have settled down with a good woman who will be a good mother.
based. Americana Pipedream, ladies and gentlemen. They
Yes, sir.
do good stuff, and they got 9/11 carpets.
Yeah, thank you.
Anytime, always welcome. Wait. Fuck. You're starting your own podcast, aren't you?
Yeah, I believe I brought it up, but before we ended, I wanted to say,
Yes.
Seabird Art Podcast, fucking fantastic. Listen to every single episode.
Oh,
Support
shit.
Nathan.
Thank you, man.
Absolutely fantastic podcast.
That means a lot. I really appreciate you, and I know BR does too. Thank you.
Absolutely.
That means a lot. I always just hearing it from people, hearing it from anyone. It's very wholesome. Okay, bye.